Hey guys, how's everybody doing with the release of the brand new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie this past weekend? This is my own personal ranking of the seven theatrically released Ninja Turtle movies. Just to get this out of the way now, I am not going to be including was it two or three? Three, animated movies. There was Turtles Forever, Batman vs. Ninja Turtles, and then there's like this one on Netflix. I felt that it was just be appropriate just to include the seven theatrically released films. I'm sorry if you wanted me to do that, but I just decided not to. But I will say this. If I were to include them, Turtles Forever would be in my top three because that movie is fucking awesome. And I'm sorry I did not get my reviews out for the two Michael Bay produced Ninja Turtle movies. My schedule got all messed up. Everything that I had planned, it basically went into the gutter. Everything I wanted to do, it just didn't work out. So you'll just get my thoughts and my own personal preference on them on this ranking. So, with that all out of the way, here is my ranking of all seven theatrically released Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle films. In at number seven, which really shouldn't have surprised anybody that it's the worst Ninja Turtles movie in my mind, and that is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3. I don't know what this movie is really. I just want to say this too. This was the only Ninja Turtles movie that I did not watch from the original 90s films. I always grew up watching the two 90s versions of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Those were the two movies that I always watched when it came to Ninja Turtles. And for some reason, I just never wanted to watch this movie. I had no desire. I remember I was one of those people that always judged a book by its cover type people. And every time I would look at the cover for this movie, and I just went, "Oh, that does not look very good." Like just the look of the Ninja Turtles. And when I found out it was like a time traveling movie, I was just like, "Oh, yeah, no, thank you." And I have brief memories where I never sat down and watched this. My stepdad was dating this one chick at one time, and her son, it might have been a girl. I can't remember. That's just how much I remember. Her kid was a big Turtles fan, and so they would put on Turtles 3 for him all the time. I never sat down and watched it, and I spent the night over at their house. And they put on Turtles 3, but I passed out. I only remember seeing the intro of this movie where they did the cool little dance. I always have liked that. I do like that part of this movie. But other than that, I did not remember anything about this movie. I never had the desire to ever watch it. This was the only 90s Turtles film that I had no desire to watch. And, oh boy, you know, I actually see people talk about this movie now and they're adults and they jokingly say, like, this was a movie that they loved growing up, and then they watch it as an adult and they go, what the fuck? What kind of kid was I? But yeah, there's really nothing about this movie that I love. The only thing I thought was cool to see was Casey Jones returning, but hell, they basically treat him like an afterthought. Like he's there, but he's treated as like the babysitter of this film. And it's like, so you brought back Casey Jones, but you just forget about him? Just great. Another thing that I kind of liked about this movie is like the whole arc about Raphael, where they try to make him as like a father figure for this one little kid in this movie. That was a cool little segment where they try to kind of make his character better and everything. I thought that was a cool scene, but there's really nothing about this movie that I like. And if somebody told me that they want to watch this movie with me, I would fucking groan. From here on out, I enjoy all of these films. These films, from here above, I can have some enjoyment out of these films. Coming in at number six is TMNT, the 2007 animated film. I don't despise this film. I understand why this movie has its fans. It's a Ninja Turtles movie. If you're a Ninja Turtles fan and you're a hardcore fan, grew up with the 80s TV show, watch every interpretation of the Ninja Turtles, this will definitely work for you. But I just really couldn't get into it too much. I thought this movie was fine. I had some enjoyment here and there, but I just really can't get into this film. I enjoyed it for what it was, but really, There's nothing going on in this film. The only thing that's really going on is Leonardo and Raphael. And Raphael's like a night watcher thing, which I think is a really cool thing. I don't care too much about like the whole outfit that he wears. It doesn't really, I don't really care for it. And like that whole Leonardo versus Raphael scene, that's a really great scene. But other than that, there's nothing going on in this film. You can really tell that they wrote this movie based on those two. And for me, the animation for its time, it was great. But especially animated films now, it kind of feels like a step downwards. Like you got movies like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse. Hell, you even got the new Ninja Turtles movie. This movie's okay. And what I read from this film, where the original plan was to make two sequels, where the first movie, this movie, was a movie focusing on Leonardo and Raphael, where and then they have their big fight. And then the next movie was gonna focus on Michelangelo, and he thought that he was treated as only the goofy guy, and nobody really took him seriously. And then he later joined the Foot Clan. And then the third movie was gonna focus so much on Donatello, where he kind of uses all of his smarts too much, and then he accidentally opens a portal to Krang and everything. I think that would be cool to see those two sequels, but we never got them for some reason. And of course, it was produced by the Weinstein Company, so. Overall, it's a fine Ninja Turtles film. I get some enjoyment out of this film, but really, there's nothing going on except for Leonardo and Raphael stuff. Number 5. This one might get me in trouble. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. The second produced Michael Bay movie. Yes, second. Not first, second. People are going to hate me later. I think this is a fun film. I've always enjoyed these Michael Bay produced films. It comes from pure nostalgia because these were kind of my introduction to the Turtles, like, besides the two 90s films. Like, after I watched the first 90s films and then the Michael Bay films came out, and so I watched those, and since I was young and stupid, those were my introduction, and then they helped me grow as a Ninja Turtles fan. But I remember I have brief memories of my mother taking me to the drive-in to watch this movie. This was when she was in AA, helping, like, getting better, but she's all better now. Proud of you, Mom. And I remember being so pissed when she took me. I felt so bad. Like, think about it. When I was a kid, I didn't care. I didn't want to go to the stupid meeting. I just wanted to go to the drive-in to watch a Ninja Turtles movie. And now I look back at it, I'm like, God, I was such a selfish prick. But she took me to the film. We watched it. I was having a great time throughout the entire film. And when I saw that Shredder got an upgrade, I was like, oh yeah, that's great. And then I saw Bebop and Rocksteady being finally introduced to live action. That was a great thing too, especially starring Sheamus. Like again, I'm a wrestling guy, so I was glad to see him. The only thing that I really despise about this movie is Casey Jones. What the fuck? And for someone who's grown up more and kind of watched more movies and television while growing up, and then I started watching Arrow at a pretty young age, so yeah. And then I found out that was the same guy. I was like, oh, he might do good, right? No. I mean, his performance is great, but you waste him in this film. You get the guy who plays Arrow in the Arrow series. That's when it was peak, and that's when it was great. But then you just treat him like dog shit throughout this entire movie, where he's a suspended cop. He wants to be a detective, and so he tries to impress his boss, basically. And he's such a pussy. I despise what they did with him. And he only uses the hockey mask and hockey stick in one part of the movie. And then he's treated as the love interest for April O'Neil. Personally, I just miss the long hair. They treated him horribly. I don't know if that was the writer's fault or the director's fault or hell, even Michael Bay's fault. It's always Michael Bay's fault, isn't it? I despise what they did with Casey Jones in this film, and it breaks my heart because I love Casey Jones. He's one of my favorite characters in this whole world of Ninja Turtles, and they just treated him like dog shit. There's literally a part in this movie where April's just like, "Good working with you, officer. It's gonna be detective one day." Not joking. That is an actual part in this movie. In at number 4, just barely, by a razor thin edge, Jesus, is the first Michael Bay produced Ninja Turtles movie. Look, I understand all the hate for this film, all like that this is more focusing on April O'Neil, and it's barely a Ninja Turtles movie until like a half hour, 45 minutes in, and I'm like, I get it. I understand why you're so pissed off. But this movie, for being how high it is, it's just pure nostalgic. It is pure nostalgic. I bet you, if I watched this movie today, but not back when it first came out, this would be like 2 spots lower. But I can't help but just enjoy this film. There's a lot of enjoyment factor. I actually really like Megan Fox as April O'Neil. Not the best casting in the world, but it's a Michael Bay film. And I don't hate her. I think she's a fine casting choice. And I think Will Arnett and her, they have great chemistry. I love Will Arnett. He's a great actor. He's a great comedic actor. But why do the turtles need to be giant fucking Hulks? But of course, it's a Michael Bay movie. Everything needs to be bigger and better. And also, I refuse to believe that this is not directed by Michael Bay. Because this movie looks like his Transformers movies, and it literally has dialogue like a Michael Bay movie. Like there's literally jokes perfect on Megan Fox. That's not appropriate for kids. There's a part in this movie where they first meet April O'Neil, and then Mike is just like, "Oh, she's so hot that it's making my shell clench up." And then Rafa goes, "We can hear you," and I was like, "What the fuck?" Like, I get it. It's a Michael Bay film, and they're always gonna be perfect on Megan Fox, but if you're gonna be making a Ninja Turtles movie, no, no. And another thing that's never really bothered me, especially for somebody who watched the original 80s TV show back when I was younger, and actually rewatched it leading up to the new film, is it's never bothered me that the Foot Clan had guns, because if you watch the 80s TV show, they had guns too, so that's never really bothered me. And please get the fuck out of here with the whole April O'Neil having the turtles as pets. It's like, what the fuck? And especially with the Shredder saying killing her father. I'm not helping myself putting this at number 4, am I? But yeah, this movie, it's still enjoyable. They get the personalities of the turtles right. They get the voice actors correct. It's very rare where you'll hear Johnny Knoxville being Leonardo. And I really love this version of Splinter. I love the 90s version, but this version is just more badass. But it's maybe because he's CGI and he can just do more in CGI. I get so much enjoyment out of this film. I don't hate this film. I get enjoyment out of this film. This was kind of what kickstarted me as a Ninja Turtles fan. So again, if it wasn't for pure nostalgic, this would be like 2 or 3 spots lower. Top 3, baby. Now I'm just gonna say this now. This top 3, it was hard. It was hard. I had to go watch Mutant Mayhem for a second time because I was just like, oh, ooh, maybe here, maybe there. And I rewatched the two original 90s version. I was like, oh, maybe they'll go here and there. But I finally come up with my top 3. And my number 3 is, in fact, the original 1990 version of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This is a fantastic film. This is basically a love letter to all Ninja Turtles fans. I love the look of the turtles and how they brought them to life. The fight choreography. I love Casey Jones in this movie. I don't think the actress who plays April O'Neil in this movie is bad by any means. I do think she plays her part, but I never felt any love chemistry there or anything between Casey Jones and her. I never really felt anything there. And I don't understand what the Danny character is in this film. He just kind of just he just felt like he was just there. He serves no purpose. If you took him out of the film, this movie would be like an hour and 25 minutes. Hell, maybe an hour and 20 minutes. If they took out his whole subplot, he would be nothing to the film. But other than that, this is a fantastic Ninja Turtles movie. This is also has to do with pure nostalgic too. I imagine if people watched it today, they would go, "Oh, this movie does not age well, or it's not as good as people say it is." I get it, but I love this fucking movie. It's not one of my favorite films of all time by any means, but it is one of my favorite movies from my childhood, and I love the dark tone in this movie. If I were to make a Ninja Turtles movie, I would kind of do like a mix, but I'd make it more like a darker tone, but it wouldn't be too dark. It's what I would love to see. And the Ninja Turtles movie now is like, thank God we got Mutant Mayhem though. It's a fantastic Ninja Turtles movie. It's so close to being in my at number two, hell, even at number one. It is that fucking good. I love the original Ninja Turtles movie. If you haven't watched it, stop watching this video and go watch it right now. Now, saying that choosing my top three was hard, picking over which one was my favorite was the hardest. But as of right now, until we get another Ninja Turtles movie, until we get Mutant Mayhem 2, my number two is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Secret of the Ooze. This is my favorite Ninja Turtles movie from the 90s. This was my favorite for the longest time. I love the comedic tone. I love the change in tone. I love that we get to see the Ninja Turtles from beginning to end. I love everything that they did with this movie. The only flaw I've really only had with this movie is the recasting of Donatello. I've said that his voice doesn't really say Donatello to me, but over a while it's kind of grown on me a little bit, but I still prefer Corey Feldman. And I don't understand the Bebop and Rocksteady, like, the ripoffs in here. I forget their names, with the giant dog and the giant turtle thing. I forget their names. But apparently the writers, they weren't a big fan of Bebop and Rocksteady, so they just decided to make their own versions of them, but they should have just made them Bebop and Rocksteady. But other than that, it's a great sequel. It is my favorite Ninja Turtles movie from the 90s, and out of all the Ninja Turtles movies, I feel I rewatched this one the most over and over and over again. But right now, my number one is the new kid on the block, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem. You want to talk one of the biggest surprises ever? This is probably my most surprising movie of 2023. Now, when they first released this trailer, I thought when they first released the trailer, I was like, okay, this movie looks fine. It looks like a generic kids movie. And then Seth Rogen said that he was going to be part of it. He wrote the screenplay. He was producing it along with Evan Goldberg. They got actual teenagers to voice the Ninja Turtles. Hell, they got fucking Jackie Chan, the perfect casting choice as Splinter. That basically just said, here you go. Basically just handed me this movie and said, "You want a you want another great Ninja Turtles movies? Here you go. Here you go." And they fucking delivered. This speaks to me as a Ninja Turtles fan. This speaks to me as a teenager because all the dialogue that they say in this movie is exactly what teenagers my age actually say. Like, some people I actually saw was like, I don't understand what that means. I don't. That's kind of cringeworthy. But I was just like, you gotta be my age to understand. Like, they say, it's like, you're acting super sus. I'm like, yep, that's what we fucking say, man. And then it's like, who's got a zero riz factor now? I'm like, that is what we fucking say. They basically took the modern generation of teenagers and made it into a Ninja Turtles movie. This movie speaks to me as a Turtles fan. This movie speaks to me. And I love the animation style of this movie. The only criticisms I really only have with this film is that they barely used Splinter in this movie, but he had great screen time. And this fucking soundtrack was fucking booming, especially that Hey 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 scene, if you know what I'm talking about. They play the original version and the version I listened to, and I was like, 10 out of 10. Yes, give me more. Oh, give me more. And this is something that's kind of bothered me, and it kind of pulled like the Lego Batman move on me, where Bebop and Rocksteady become good guys in this movie. I was like, no, that's not the characters. Hopefully they'll fix that in a sequel or something. I don't know. The comedy in this movie worked from beginning to end. Seth Rogen, he's a very funny guy, so of course the comedy worked for me. I have really nothing negative to say towards this film. This was an awesome film. It's still in theaters right now. Please do yourself a favor and check it out. You are gonna have an absolute blast with this film. Just go watch the film. It's awesome, and it is the biggest surprise for me this year, and might be my favorite animated movie of the year. I'm sorry, Spider-Verse fans, but it was that fucking good. you all so much for watching my own personal ranking of all 7 theatrically released Ninja Turtles movie. By the time we get Mutant Mayhem 2, maybe I'll change my mind and I'll decide to do the 3 animated films. But who knows? Thank you all so much for watching. Please leave me your ranking down in the comments below instead of sending me hate comments or I should kill myself or you're going to send death threats to my mother. How about you just don't do that? Just share me your ranking. I would love to know your ranking. And if you like this video, like it. If you love to subscribe and hit bell notifications so you will get notified for my latest videos. But, of course, until my next video, see you next time.